What's true about parallel lines? Do they intersect? They never intersect. They have the same steepness, don't they? So parallel lines, if they have the same steepness, if they never intersect, must have what? Yeah, they must have the same slope. Okay, what are perpendicular lines? What do they look like? They definitely intersect. How do they intersect? They do. They intersect at a 90-degree angle. And we usually indicate that with a little square. That's a 90-degree angle on all the angles then, right? All the angles form. So like this angle is also 90 degrees, and this one and this one. And it turns out you can show that perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. For example, if I tell you a line has slope 3/4, and I tell you that's line 1, and line 2 is perpendicular to line 1, what's the slope of line 2 going to be? So does anybody remember this kind of upside down uppercase T means perpendicular? So the perpendicular slope would be you take the reciprocal, but then you take the opposite of it. That's what negative reciprocal slopes mean. Does that make sense? Okay. In this example, we're asked whether or not the given lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So we're given the equations of two different lines, 3x minus 4y equals -2, and y equals 3/4 x minus 3. So in order to tell whether or not they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither, we need to find the slopes. So the slope of this line, pretty easy, right? It's in slope-intercept form. We know that the coefficient of x is the slope. So the slope of this line is 3/4. So if this is line 2, you could call it m subscript 2. So the slope of the second line is 3/4. To get the slope of this line, well, we have to solve it for y. We have to put it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b form, in other words, and then get the coefficient of x to identify the slope. So let's go about doing that. So the first thing we'll do, let's subtract 3x from both sides, and I'll squeeze that in front of the -2. So if I do that, I get -4y equals -3x minus 2. And then let's divide everything by -4. The coefficient of the y on the left side. Divide everything by -4. Don't forget to divide the -2 by -4. And if you do that, you'll get y by itself on the left side. -3 divided by -4, that's a positive 3/4 in front of the x. And then a plus 2/4, which is 1/2. And so the coefficient of x in this case is 3/4. So if we call this line 1, we could call the slope of this line m1. m1 equals 3/4. So the slopes are the same. Notice these are the same, which means either the lines are equivalent or they're different lines with the same slope. They're parallel lines. How do we know for sure that the lines aren't the same line? How do we know for sure that this equation doesn't contain the same points as this equation? Well, their y-intercepts are different. So we know that they are different lines, but they have the same steepness. In other words, they have the same slope, which means the lines are parallel.